Bob Harig of Sports Illustrated is in Augusta, amid the pines. Apparently, the flowers, the azaleas, everything's blooming. Unlike some past years, I know they're pretty excited about it. Although I know they lost a bunch of trees. But it is Tuesday. It is heavy media day, and so let's start with this. Is apparently the Rory McIlroy Masters. Is this the biggest storyline this week?
If it isn't, it's pretty close, I'd say. He's won twice this year. Nobody else has done that on the PGA Tour. Joaquin Neiman won twice on Liv, but I don't think he's getting the same run that Rory is. I mean, it's because it's Rory. I mean, it's the only of the four majors he's not won. This is 11th straight year he's had a chance to complete the career Grand Slam. He's playing well. He's probably playing the best of anybody in the world right now, and really has for 6 months. After the U.S. Open disappointment last year, he actually bounced back and was a contender often. Won in a European event, won their season title, won at Pebble in the Players. It's just a lot of things that add up to us focusing on him, and then the top, Scheffler number one, and Xander, who was number two to start the year, now three, haven't won this year, right, and have battled injuries. So, I think it is, Roy's probably the biggest story with several others that are pretty big too.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler has a ravioli injury, correct?
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, I mean, what a fluke, right? What a fluke.
Hey, look, we had a Carolina hurricane cut his hand open while trying to cut a sweet potato. Kitchen maladies are everywhere. Bob Harig from Sports Illustrated is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. At Rory's press conference today, so many questions are about why haven't you? What have you changed? How do you feel? How does he handle that? Or how has he handled it? And do you think in any way this adds to the mounting pressure? It's clear that everybody wants Rory to win.
I mean, I don't know if it hurts him. I mean, he's been through this so many times. He knows it's part of it. I think the phraseology he uses, it's narrative. That's
right.
It's I have to block out the noise, and I think a 20-minute or so media session on Tuesday, doing a few TV things on the range, then it's over with. And, these guys are in a pretty much a cocoon here. I don't sense that he's going to get a whole lot of other, media attention. And I think he's doing what he has to do. But the facts are that he's not really contended much here over the years,
right,
frankly. This is, believe it or not, his 17th Masters, and he has 7 top 10s and 4, I believe, top 5s. So 4 out of 16 top 5s. And his second place finish came in 2022 when he shot a final round 64 to finish like 3 back.
Right.
He wasn't really in contention. He's not gone to the back 9 since in 2011, when he was a third round leader. Yep. I think by 3, he went to the back 9 still leading and imploded. He shot 80 that day and finished 15th. He's not gone to the back 9 since, really, with a realistic chance to win. And that's kind of remarkable. Like in other words, Rory isn't teeing off on 15 and anybody's saying if he eagles this hole, he might win.
Right.
Because he's been too far back. So, Rory's got to get himself in the mix one of these times. A colleague and I were discussing this earlier. The Masters is a weird place in that there's very few times that the winner comes from outside the top 10 after day 1. Tiger did it in 2019. I think he was like 17th or 15th or something after the first day. but that's rare. Like, it's usually, if you are not in the top 10 after 18 holes, your chances of winning are greatly, greatly diminished. So, Rory I don't think Rory's always been outside the top 10, but he's certainly not really been in the mix much through 36 holes. And, we haven't seen the tee times yet, but I think it would really help Rory a lot if he were to get an afternoon morning wave, so that on Friday morning he's not worrying about chasing, he's worrying about pace setting,
right?
And putting a number up there.
Yeah, and the conditions we'll get into the weather conditions and how that might affect scoring in a couple of minutes. I remember that 2011 because my son had a Nintendo Wii, and Rory hit it to a place off the 10th tee that didn't exist on the video game. It wasn't even there. We couldn't even find that little one of those cabins that Rory was hitting from for his second shot on the 10th hole. And that was really the back nine implosion. Kind of not unlike what Greg Norman did a few years, not a few, but a lot, maybe a decade or so prior, when Norman fell apart, losing to Nick Faldo. What is the other? Is the other top storyline Scotty, who has been good but not Scotty-ish so far this year, going for a Scotty Pete?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's certainly, the number one player in the world, the defending champion. Won 7 times last year. He's certainly another big storyline. I think that if he's not in a mix, that becomes a big story. I don't think it's a big story if he doesn't win.
Right.
It's not that common that people defend. But I think if he's sort of out of it, that becomes a big deal. Xander's the last guy to win a major.
Yeah.
He's really underplayed because he missed so much time, and maybe that's good for him because maybe there's a little bit of pressure off. Because I think there's a sense of we're not. If he doesn't have it this week, it's not that surprising. He's only played 3 tournaments since he came back, and he was 2 of them were not good. He shot 81 at the Players just 3 weeks ago. In the final round, and so he had a good tournament the next week at the Valspar. But, there's not a whole lot of positive reinforcement in his brain right now, and this isn't the easiest place to find it. It's not typical that you show up here and searching and get it done. I mean, the Jack Nicklaus of almost 40 years ago is those are outliers. Usually the guys who win, they might not have been winning, but they were trending or in form.
Bob Harig from Sports Illustrated is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Masters starts Thursday. Tee time's out later on today. To me, this is a classic second shot golf course. We all know this. You can't spray it off the tee, but you don't have to necessarily have pinpoint accuracy. Fairways give you a little bit of room. Of course, you need the better angle to different pin positions and things like that. Traditionally, you don't necessarily have to be a great putter. Otherwise, Brad Faxon might have won some Masters. But Scotty Scheffler's a good putter. And weeks where he putts well, probably wins. So you don't have to be a great putter, but you need to be a great iron player. Is there a better iron player than Colin Morikawa?
Probably not. I mean, if it is, it's Scotty. But Morikawa is really, really good at that. And he's a ball striker. He hits it solid. And if anything has held him back, it's probably his putting. You got to do it all. But you're right. It's not all about putting. It's not a putting contest. It's really kind of a greens and regulation contest. And then after that, it's a proximity contest. I mean, if you hit all 72 greens, but you have 50 footers all day, you're not gonna win.
Right.
But if you typically hit, say, 54 out of 72, 56 in that range, where you're in the top 50 even, you're the top 50, top 3 or 4 in greens and regulation, and then you're hitting just enough of them close to give yourself birdie chances, a few birdie chances. Those are the guys who do well. And then, of course, you've got to be a good chipper because you're going to miss some greens. And can you get it up and down? Can you avoid making a lot of bogeys? Because when you miss, you're gonna guys are going to make bogeys. The guys who are only getting it up and down, say half the time, are probably going to be out of it. So I always look at the greens and reg stat here. It's not the be all end all, but it's not. You don't see a guy winning this tournament who's 20th in greens and regulation. A guy who's hitting 8 greens and scrambling his tail off isn't winning because he's not going to. Inevitably he's not going to be able to scramble well enough.
All right, 2 more things. First of all, who would be the best candidate this week from Liv? By the way, they got about almost 500,000 viewers for their final round at Trump Doral. So that's their best ever U.S. Broadcast number. Good for them. Is it DeChambeau or is it somebody else?
Well, listen, I kind of like Rahm too.
Okay.
Rahm's been teetering on the brink of. I think he leads Liv in birdie average, and he's been consistently good, even though he hasn't won. And he just won here 2 years ago. Last year, I think it was an aberration for him. And I'd be very surprised if he's not highly motivated to do well. I think Koepka is sort of quietly trying to trend here for this week. He did not have a good major season last year. No. Unusual for him. But yeah, certainly Bryson. Bryson had a bit of a breakthrough at Augusta last year. This place had flummoxed him before.
Yep.
And he was the first round leader last year, and then he actually he tied for 6th, and it was the start of a great major year. He's second at the PGA, won the U.S. Open. If he would have done anything at the British Open, we would have been talking about it being like an all-time great season. And yet he won only one time,
right?
Which is crazy. The only win anywhere was the U.S. Open, but if you're going to only win one, it's a pretty big one. So, but I'd be sort of surprised if we don't see. If he doesn't make some noise too. So, yeah, I'm sure we're going to see something from the Liv guys for sure.
Yeah, I think Joaquin Niemann is also a pretty good choice. All right, and by the way, DeChambeau last year, I think it was the Saturday round, 3rd round, where he was in great shape and then made a complete mess of the 15th hole with the chip from the right side that I guess was short. He just completely made a mess of that hole. You normally think he'd be taking advantage of all the par 5s. Final thing, because I alluded to the weather, it's going to be high 60s, low 70s. Does that equate to not lower scores but higher scores? So something in the neighborhood of 10 under par, give or take, a winning score here, or is it going to be deeper?
Yeah, I think unless there's wind, I think it'll be deeper than that. Last year was 11, and Saturday was brutal last year.
Right.
Saturday was really, really difficult. Or excuse me, Friday. Friday was very, very difficult. I always it'll always stand out in my mind because the 72 that Tiger shot in the second round last year, which nobody will ever just looking at it, nobody will think anything of it. He shot 73, 72 to make the cut actually fairly easily, but it was an incredible round of golf in the conditions. Like it probably his best round he's played post accident.
Right.
And then, the next day I think his back went out and that's when he shot in the 80s. And so everybody remembers that. But that 72 was incredible. That day was really hard. A lot of good players missed the cut, like Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
Guys just really fell off. And so I don't know if we're going to get a day like that. That's why I expect the scoring to be a little bit better. And also, we just, we got a lot of rain yesterday. It's sunny today, and they have that sub-air system. Are they able to get it dry and firm, certainly by the weekend? Like, if we don't get any more rain and we get just even a little bit of wind, then you have a chance for it to get firm. The golf course is always way more interesting when it's firm, because the ball rolls more. It's harder to control. and it just brings in a lot of variables. So that's sort of what you hope for, and that usually brings out the best players. That's why a guy like Scheffler won, because he's so good with the irons, and why Morikawa was up there last year.
No doubt about it. For people who are fancying maybe some action, look at guys who I guess hit mid irons close. That to me, anywhere, 7, 6, 7, anything from like 175 to 200 yards. The guys who are best in that stat are probably pretty good picks to do well this week. Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated, at Bob Harig on Twitter. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it. Enjoy the week. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me.